Well, we're going to talk about some big, cool projects, and to help us do that, we've invited Rachel Jacobson. She is president of Heritage Omaha. Rachel, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you, and now you're relatively new in this role as head of Heritage.
Right, but I think people need to know before we get into Heritage Omaha and all the amazing things that her organization does is she came back to Omaha after graduating from Central and going to college and doing great things. She came back and you saw a need for something in Omaha.
Yeah, so I think the last time I was on this show, or maybe I've been on, was probably about 2005 when I moved home, and so it was a really long time ago. And I moved home to start Film Streams, which is the nonprofit cinema we run.
We'll have you on every 17 years, just so you know.
Yeah, okay, great. I'll come back 17 years from
But we
now.
didn't have something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a really fun, I did it for 15 years. I was, got to be the founding executive director, worked with an amazing team of people, a wonderful board, and the community really embraced it. You guys included. I think you had me on really early, so thank you. And, we were able to, we opened Ruth Sokoloff downtown with Slowdown in 2007, and then we opened the Dundee in 2017, fall of 2017. And both cinemas, I gave notice right before the pandemic, and so
Smart move.
Oh, it was really sad. And so then but I gave a good 5 months, and then I had to leave during the pandemic. But man, we have such a dedicated board and wonderful team, and I'm still involved with Film Streams. I love that organization so much.
And a lot of great stakeholders in that, and so it's been the 5-year anniversary, I can't believe it, of the Dundee Film Streams, and then 20-year anniversure of downtown Ruth Sokoloff Theater.
15,
15?
yeah, 15
Okay,
Ruth Sokoloff.
okay.
Yeah. So, it was an amazing experience.
Thank you for that. So let's get into what you're doing lately.
Yeah, so I transitioned from from Film Streams to Heritage Omaha, which Heritage Services, which is a nonprofit that was started in the 90s by Bob Doherty and Willis Strauss and Walter Scott, and it was because Jocelyn and Durham needed capital renovations, so they needed significant investment from the philanthropic community, and these guys also knew how to do and facilitate building projects when you think about all the great things that Walter Scott has done for Omaha. And so they started up this organization that existed to, do those kinds of big projects that entities needed. And so, since then, my predecessor, Sue Morris, had been there for 25 years. And and she's pretty amazing. And she really, this is a group of people that really know how to get things done. And, they do these big capital campaigns, big building projects. Some of the recent ones, they did the VA project. That
Public-private partnership?
Yeah, that ambulatory center, which is really unbelievable. They did Sienna Francis House. Dan Neary, you guys were just talking about Dan. He was really the leader from the board on that one, and that was an amazing project. They did Omaha Performing Arts. They started up Omaha Performing Arts.
Which was like 95 or more percent private financing, that $105 million project when it was built.
Well, you're talking about the Holland Center.
Yeah, the Holland Center. Yeah, but they did the Holland Center and the Orpheum at the same time.
Okay.
And so it was both projects, and then they started up the organization. They hired Joan. And the thing about this organization that's cool, and the translation from Film Streams into this is it's these capital campaigns and it's these building projects. But the amazing thing about it is that we get to start things up. We kind of do this whole institutional development. We create something sustainable for the community, and then we don't typically run the organizations. We step back and we let them do their thing. And sometimes they're existing organizations that we're doing something for. Like we did the Central High Stadium, for example. But when you think about it, that was a pretty complicated project because it involved Jocelyn and Creighton and Central. So having an autonomous entity like Heritage to be able to facilitate that, I think, was important.
What I think is unique about Heritage Omaha is not only do they do projects and they oversee projects, but you also do feasibility studies and do the background to see if something is warranted.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at, the pro formas. We're looking at like, how is this thing going to operate long term, and how is it going to support the community forever? Like, I think Walter Scott was quoted in the paper a bunch of times talking about heritage, saying we don't want to build white elephants. We don't want to, just build a building to build it. We want to make sure that there's really a sustainable entity to run it. So,
how unique is Heritage Omaha to other organizations around the country? When people talk about Omaha, they say that we have a ton of public-private partnerships, which makes us very unique. There's a lot of money. It's not just Berkshire Hathaway, millionaires and billionaires, but Union Pacific, insurance companies, all kinds of philanthropic stakeholders. How unique is the organization on this kind of format?
I asked Sue when I started, I was like, who are your peers? Like, who do you look to, nationally? And she said, there's really no one, that they've been able to find that, that's like Heritage. And so, and I know, like, we're going to talk about Kiewit Luminarium. We recruited this amazing CEO for that. And she kind of said, she's like, this is a really interesting organism. This is the kind of organization that I've never seen before, because it's kind of this interesting mixture. It's not like, we're not a foundation. We don't have like a huge pile of money in the bank that we're giving away. We raise the money, from different entities, but and then we facilitate the capital projects. But it is kind of a mix of philanthropy and that stewardship and that fundraising side too.
We're talking with Rachel Jacobson, president of Heritage Omaha. Rachel, I'm kind of curious. How does Heritage decide what projects to take on and what to get involved?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, we've got a really terrific board, and we're kind of, continuing to evaluate, how we do things. But I think like one of the main things is what wouldn't get done without us, like what's something that's really needed for the community and would be really valuable and would have a huge impact, and what wouldn't get done without this group.
So you're a really generous TIF-like organization, but with the expertise and what also makes it unique, starting with Walter Scott, where he understands how to build things, not only from the construction side, but the organizationally and the project management and all that, which really lends some expertise and some cost savings to the project.
Yeah, and it's not just, yeah, definitely. Having these guys who are running these Fortune 500 construction companies and then also, the history of our board and our current board, have done really amazing things in their career. So, that's a benefit of a nonprofit. You have all these people who are committed to the future of Omaha who can
and they've made it. They don't have to impress anybody. They know what they're doing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we're going to take our middle of the show break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about two projects in particular in which Heritage is involved, the Kiewit Luminarium and the Central Library Project near 72nd and Dodge. We're talking with Rachel Jacobson, head of Heritage Omaha. But now, Rachel, I want to talk about two projects that your team is involved in, huge projects, community-changing projects. The first one is the Kiewit Luminarium. Tell us about that and how it's progressing.
Oh, this one is so exciting. So it's going to be right down on the riverfront, and it's a new science center, and it's in partnership with Exploratorium, which is a science center in San Francisco that has been around since the 60s. And a lot of people attribute like the success of Silicon Valley to Exploratorium being there, because it's all about joyful engagement with science learning, and it's just an amazing place. And so they're doing all of the exhibits there, and it's going to be this beautiful building right there on the riverfront. So the riverfront park development, the Lewis and Clark Landing part of that, is going to be all around it. So just to the south, there's going to be this awesome children's park, and then right on the water, there's going to be pickleball courts and like a little urban beach and all this stuff. And then Kiewit Luminarium is going to be this great thing, and it's all about different ways into learning so that you can develop like a more inclusive workforce for STEM fields and for STEAM fields, really, like including arts. So it's going to be
science,
so
technology,
beautiful.
Engineering, arts, and mathematics.
I'd never heard STEAM before.
yeah, they say STEM and STEAM and all of that.
What I find most unique about it, and isn't the CEO? Didn't she come from San Francisco?
Yes,
she ran.
yes.
She ran the Exploratorium.
So here's the amazing thing: she is an incredible person. She had been at Exploratorium for a really long time, and she started their global collaborations project. Like she saw that the amazing work that they were doing could be modeled in other cities, and so she started. She's doing a science center in the Middle East. She's doing one in Brazil that's going to open in the next couple of years. Like they were doing stuff all over the world, and I inherited this project when Exploratorium was already on board, and when the lead donors, that all named it for Kiewit, were already on board. And she was our lead person that we were working with on it. And
what's her name?
Her name's Silva Raker. You should have her on. She is phenomenal.
Here's an invitation, Silva.
Yeah, Silva, you should come on the show. Yeah, but she's really already, she moved to Dundee just a couple blocks away, and she's really, really engaged in the community already. She's just out there meeting everyone. And the cool thing about Luminarium is, if you go to the website, it's kiewitluminarium.org, and you'll see, we've got this great board that includes like Cheryl Logan, the superintendent of OPS. It includes Lance Perez, who's the head dean of engineering at UNL. There's a bunch of other community. Lance Fritz from UP is on there. Jane Miller from Gallup. Bruce Grucock is kind of like, one of the leads. It's just a really great group. But then in addition to that wonderful board, we also put together this wonderful advisory group that's leaders from different nonprofits. And so they are informing the exhibits and the programming right from the beginning, because Exploratorium doesn't just want to do a franchise of Exploratorium Part 2. They want to build something that's in and of the community and that's of Omaha. So this is really about like co-creating this place and making everyone feel, and making sure that everyone's a part of making it great. It's going to be so cool.
Not only is it unique, but it's going to be interactive, and it's going to be ever changing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so when we open, we're going to have about 100.
We're talking about April of 23, so it's less than a year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You can drive down there and you can see the building's really, really far along. They've done a terrific job with that, and yeah, so it'll open with about 120 or so exhibits, and some of those, are exhibits that have been at Exploratorium for decades, and they're proven, and they've kind of tweaked them for accessibility, or to make them more beautiful for the space. But some of them are brand new that they've just conceptualized for this project. There's 4 different galleries. One's called the names of the galleries are actually probably going to be changing, but one is kind of focused on physics, on traditional engagement with like light and sound and motion and stuff like that. And so you have like really cool like big umbrellas that are about motion, and it'll be like a really dynamic space that'll be really fun to engage with. And then there's one that's going to be more focused on building and how the built environment interacts with the natural environment, a lot of stuff that you guys talk about on this show. And then there's going to be a gallery that's all about it was called Building Self and Community. So it's kind of all about you think about like the biological self, like the fact that you're made up of cells, and then you have exhibits where you think about like how you respond to color and things like that, and so you kind of start to think about the self. And then they have all these social interaction exhibits, like games that you play with other people there and stuff like that. That'll be really cool, where you think about the social self.
Can't wait.
So
cool.
Rachel, and then just so we have time, I do also want to bring up the Central Library project that everyone is talking about at 72nd and Dodge. Where are we with that proposed or potential project?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it is a proposed and potential project. Yeah, so it actually, the past few months have been really, really exciting. So we got usually like once Heritage officially launches a project and like goes for it, it's got to be, it's got to be a true go. And like obviously, Omaha Public Library is a beloved institution. It's been here for 150 years. I mean, they've been serving the community in in a tremendous way. And so we want to
without controversy.
with no controversy whatsoever. So we want to be really good partners with them. And Heritage got into library services in 2015 when we launched DoSpace, and the point of that, the point of DoSpace was to model, as a prototype, like what a technology library could be. Because when you think about it, libraries are all about safe spaces for everyone to be at that are totally free, non-commercial safe spaces. And then they're also about access to all kinds of information. And what has changed more than the information landscape over the past few decades? I mean, so the best libraries and the cities that are investing in libraries are investing in great design. They're investing in places. They're investing in that access to technology and that access, different styles of access to information. And they're just, yes, books. Absolutely books. There are definitely going to be books at this library, and books and literacy and everything that the library is doing now. But it's also about that deep investment that libraries need in order to get to the next level, because the world's changed so much and it's going to continue to change.
What might be the timeline for how this could roll out?
Well, so since January, we've been going through, so we have 5 different partner organizations. We've got the City of Omaha, we've got Omaha Public Library, we've got the Omaha Public Library Foundation, we've got DoSpace, and we've got Heritage Omaha. Thank you. So all 5 partners, and each, has staff and board that need to be involved. So, and we've got a terrific design team that we've put together. It's 2 local firms, HDR and Allie Pointer Miketto. And then it's Margaret Sullivan Studios, which is a national firm that does a lot of library engagement. And she's going around talking about the 21st century library. That's her spiel. And so she's been working in Chicago and New York and all over the country. So it's a really good team. And basically we've been getting everyone together, including city council and the mayor's office, including library board and library staff, including, foundation board and foundation staff, and a lot of sessions with, the DoSpace staff and the library staff together to really figure out what this library should be. And the idea is that we're going to create a building that is a 100-year building, something that is really beautiful, that really can have a huge impact on the library. And we're going to be sharing some stuff on that in the coming weeks. And if this seems like something, we're going to be vetting this, and, obviously, city council would have to make a commitment. And so if the community thinks that this is a great idea, then this project will be a go. So we'll see over the coming months if it is, and if we can keep the ball rolling, we could open by in a few years, 2025 or 2026.
It'll be very exciting. And Rachel, I wish we had more time to talk more, but we're out. I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for everything you and everyone involved in Heritage Omaha is doing to make this community even better.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Rachel Jacobson, president of Heritage Omaha.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.